County prosecutor considering whether to file aggravated assault charges against Thomas Eric Duncan. Has he broken any laws in Texas?
No, I really don't think he did. Aggravated assault requires a criminal intent. They would have to show not only that he knew he was infected, but he came over here with that type of an intent. I think they're just trying to show that they're doing their job, like Liberia seems to be doing theirs with their charges, but there is definitely no criminal intent for an aggravated assault. There is a criminal negligence standard, but you don't even get to that unless you can prove that he knew or was completely reckless about knowing that he was in contact with an Ebola patient. So, no charges.
All right, sounds like Mark is saying intent here, Dr. Garza. The key here is intent. Did Thomas Eric Duncan knowingly go out and try and infect people, or did he try to get himself help and do the right thing here?
Right, and I think that is the question that you need to be asking. I think there's two questions. One is the legal question, and one is the moral question. So I'm not an attorney, so I can't speak much on the legal aspects, but there are laws that protect the American public from communicable disease. And so, you know, you have to, I think, at least consider that when you're discussing things like this. But the other sort of moral question is, would any of us, facing this dilemma where you're infected with this lethal disease in a country that has very poor infrastructure, would any of us have done anything different than what he had done in order to survive? But I think those are two fundamentally different questions.
Yeah. Mark, what do you want? Did you want to say something here?
Well, yeah. Now, if we're going with the premise that he knew he was sick, maybe with Ebola, and came here for treatment, that's a different standard, and that may be that criminal negligence. That might even get you to criminal intent. But if he was unaware that he was infected, then that's a much different story. The concern is going to be everybody else who may now know that when you get to the States, you get great treatment, and they try and get here under false pretenses of knowing they had Ebola or maybe exposed but still come here under a lie.
Okay, Miles, we've been sitting here patiently. You have said, though, that there is a racial component to some of the reporting regarding Duncan. Is any of that element reflected here with the possibility of prosecution after the DA's office received calls from the public?
Well, I do agree there's, two standards here. There's legal standards and there's moral standards. And what did he disclose and when did he disclose it? Any human being who is in his situation who had the capability to seek the best possible care in the world would seek it. But it's interesting how this whole discussion has played out, and it seems to me that we had different parameters and different sort of discussion when the race was when it was a different color, when it was involving the missionary worker who ended up in Atlanta. Now, it was a different set of scenarios and a different set of circumstances, but I still feel like there's an undertone here.
All right, interesting. Mark, according to Liberian officials, Duncan reported on an airport questionnaire, I want to get it all correct here, that he had no contact with an Ebola patient. So why do you think he would do this? I mean, is that a crime to write on that questionnaire that he had no contact when he did?
Well, my understanding of the timeline is that it wasn't known that the woman suffered from Ebola until after the contact and a couple of days after he got on the plane. So unless somebody can show that he knew, that he truly had that knowledge. Now, did he have some thought in his mind and get on a plane and come to America? That needs to be vetted out. But for the criminal side of it, unless you can show that he had that prior knowledge and didn't find out after the fact, it seemingly didn't even find out that he was sick until
but
after he was in
Liberia, and in many areas are ravaged by Ebola, and some of the areas where he was. So, Mark?
Well, then we need to shut down, we sort of need to shut down the airlines, because then anybody coming from Liberia, I think the reason why Liberia has already announced they're going to prosecute him is they want to keep those air corridors open and tell the United States, we will police ourselves here.
Okay. Dr. Garza, final question for you. When Duncan first went into the Texas Health Presbyterian Hospital in Dallas, they made a big error by not asking the appropriate questions and releasing him. So, I mean, don't they bear some responsibility here if authorities are looking into the possibility of charges?
Well, I can't speak to how this relates to the charges, but clearly it seems that he did present to the hospital and that he did give the information which was consistent with the case definition for Ebola, or at least for the investigation of Ebola. And clearly the emergency department did not do the proper testing or do the proper investigation to look for that. How that figures into culpability or to legal ramifications, I think I would leave to your attorney there.